السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب زدنا علما ولا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. We continue inshallah ta'ala as we promised yesterday. We continue where we left off about learning more concerning the fiqh of Siyam. I would like to begin now with something more technical, and as we do those, we inshallah ta'ala also include the spiritual aspects of some of those inshallah ta'ala. And some of what I'm going to mention are essentials in the fiqh of Siyam. First of all, the concept of what is most essential in Sawm. That is, what is the rukn of Sawm. Arkanu as-Siyam. Because every ibadah has arkan, has shurut, or has wajibat and sunan, and mandubat and makruhat and so on. So we need to know especially about the arkan of the ibadat. The rukn translated sometimes as the pillar, like we say arkanul Islam. If you miss in one of those, then you don't have Islam. When we say arkanul siyam, if you're missing one of those, it means your siyam does not exist in the Shari'i sense, in the sense that it will not be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though we might have perhaps fasted, but if we missed a rukn, then our fasting is invalid. Similarly, arkanus salah. If we miss a rukn of salah, then our salah is invalid. Did you know that? Give me an example of a rukn of salah. No, wudu is not rukn. Wudu is shart. You know. Al-Fatiha, yeah. Surah Al-Fatiha. Surah Al-Fatiha is considered by most scholars as a rukn for the validity of salah, for example. And many others are there. The ruku', the sujood, all of those are arkan of salah. If we miss them and we finish salah, that salah that we performed is invalid. We have to repeat it. وهكذا. So, arkanu as-siyam. First of all, there are mainly, essentially, about two of them, which of course you know. I think the first one, at least you know well, that it is a rukn, even though you probably don't know the term rukn. Pillar, essential requirement. And that is al-imsaku anil mufattarat, from fajr until the sun sets. That is to restrain oneself, to withhold from indulging or consuming any of that which is defined as a mufattir. Mufattir meaning it breaks your fast. It removes your fast. And what removes our fast? First, obviously, eating, drinking. Those are mufattira that everybody knows. And what else, of course? No, physically speaking. Exactly. Intimacy, private intimacy with, of course, spouses. Intimacy outside spouses is always haram. Intimacy with a spouse in Ramadan is haram, and not only is haram, but it invalidates the siyam, just like if you ate and you drank. And those who do it purposefully, it's something very serious of a violation, wal-'iyadhu billah. by eating or drinking or by sexual intimacy. That is all haram to do, and that's a rukn. To keep away from that, to withhold from that, is a rukn. As I explained in a simple way to you what rukn means, though there are more technical definitions of rukn for those who want to know more fiqh details. You can ask later, inshallah ta'ala, about that. And that it has to be between dawn and sunset, and not between sunrise and sunset, as sometimes our fellow non-Muslims say. Muslims fast from sunrise to sunset, and it's not from sunrise, from dawn to sunset, as you know, of course. The second rukn, that is also very essential, without which, and it's the rukn in accordance to most of the ulama, it is a shart in accordance to some ulama. What's the difference between rukn and shart? Anybody knows? Not in translation, but in definition, what it means, what it entails of legal consequences. Okay.
Shart has more priority than rukn.
No, you're wrong. Huh? Shart is a prerequisite, yes. Rukn is a prerequisite also. What's the difference between rukn and shart? It's very technical, actually. Well, both are prerequisites. Both are requirements for something else. If you don't have a shart or a rukn, then you don't have that something else for which they are rukn or shart, number one. The difference between them is that rukn is internal to the identity of the thing for which it is rukn, and shart is external to the identity for which it is shart. That's why when you said wudu for salah, it is a rukn, I said no, it's a shart. Because wudu, is it inside salah or outside salah? It's outside, so it's outside, external to the identity of salah. And it is a prerequisite. If you don't have wudu, there is no salah. Salah is invalid. And that's called a shart, precondition in that sense. But rukn is internal to the identity of the thing. So al-Fatiha is inside salah. So it's a rukn. Al-Ruku' is inside salah. It's a rukn. Al-Sujood is inside salah. It's a rukn. Al-Qiyam is inside salah. It's a rukn. But wudu is outside salah and is required. It is shart, not rukn. Now, the other rukn for siyam, as I said, which is rukn for most, and some ulama say it is shart. Practically, there is no difference. If you don't have it, you don't have sawm, and that is a niyyah, the intention. Because, for example, if I intended not to fast, and it was inside of me, I intended not to fast, and then I woke up and I was fasting, my fast is invalid. I fast because my niyyah as a rukn was not there. This I know, perhaps most of us don't know. So if I repeat, if my niyyah is not to fast tomorrow, and I end up fasting, my fast, I have to do it again to make it out. Right? So if a person also is fasting, proper niyyah, is fasting today, midday say, that's it, I don't want to fast. I'm not fasting. And he's in that niyyah, even though he or she didn't eat, invalid. Because the niyyah is a rukn for sawm. Just like not eating and not drinking and not indulging in an intimate relationship, sexually speaking, that is. And the niyyah, I hope everybody here knew, but maybe some people don't know, so that's why we need to repeat these basics. The niyyah, for the niyyah to be appropriate and proper, that niyyah must have occurred the night before. before Fajr. So today we're fasting. Our internal drive to fast, of course we don't have to utter words, it's an internal condition in which you are. That internal condition of I am fasting tomorrow must have occurred when? Last night. The latest should be Fajr. If it occurred after Fajr, my fasting is invalid. Why? Because Rasulullah said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Man lam yujmi' as-siyama qabla al-fajr fala siyama lah." Man lam yujmi' as-siyama qabla al-fajr fala siyama lah. The one, that is, who did not summon his internal intention, gathered yujmi', to fast before the Fajr, the time of Fajr, then his fast or her fast is invalid. فَلَا صِيَامَ لَهُ. And that is when it comes to the obligatory fast, the Sawm of that which is obligatory, like the Sawm of Ramadan, Shahru Ramadan. Is there any question up to this point?
Yes, the question is that can a person then, I mean, all of us know that it's Fard, Ramadan is Fard on us, right? And there's no way that we can skip a day of Ramadan. So the utterance of the word, is that a rukn, or is it something good to do? Or is
the utterance of?
The utterance of the word will be so valuable in order to chant Ramadan.
Oh, you mean to utter the niyyah?
Yeah, the niyyah, is that important? Is that part of it? Or, because
No.
when I sleep, I know that I'm going to get up, inshallah, for suhoor, so that I fast, inshallah.
No, because if that you're in that condition, yes. No, the utterance of the word in accordance to the proper opinion, I think in accordance perhaps to all of the opinions, is not fard itself. Some say it is mustahab. Some said, because they used to teach the lay people, especially who do not know these meanings, to teach them to utter that so that they don't forget. Because many of us are not in a hal of always awareness of Allah Azza wa Jal. And a person who is always aware of Allah and of his responsibilities, will not miss that internal thing, especially that you wake up before Fajr to have suhoor. That's all what moved you, that's all indicative of a clear intent inside of you. Unless, of course, you woke up for suhoor to eat with people because you enjoy eating, but you're not intending to fast. See, that's possible. So, and therefore the niyyah, the internal drive that I'm fasting tomorrow, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, this is the month of Ramadan, tomorrow. So that's a requirement. To utter the word, I am going to fast, is not required. Aina.
What if you overslept and you miss your suhoor and you wake up after the suhoor time is on, but you had an intention previous night that you were going to fast, but you overslept.
Aina.
So can you fast from there even after not having suhoor?
You're right, barakallah. Because suhoor is not a requirement for fasting. If anybody thinks that suhoor is a requirement for fasting, of course they are wrong. It's a sunnah. It's a sunnah, meaning it's good to do. But it's not required at all to do that. And so one should not say, I didn't eat, so I'm not going to fast. No, you're wrong. You must fast. Because suhoor is not neither shart, nor rukn, nor wajib, not even wajib for siyam. It is mandub, it is mustahab, it is sunnah. It is good to do that. It is a blessing. We shall talk about that also later, inshallah. No, we must fast without even that. Is that clear? Every day, yes. That's in accordance to the vast majority of the ulama. In the fasting that is obligatory, such as the fasting of the month of Ramadan, you heard the text, مَنْ لَمْ يُجْمِعِ الصِّيَامَ قَبْلَ الْفَجْرِ فَلَا صِيَامَ لَهُ. Said he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that is every night. they say in analyzing this text. However, صيام التطوع, nafila siyam, supererogatory fasting, not wajib, such as fasting Mondays, Thursdays, or any other day, which is not obligatory, that most of the ulama, alhamdulillah, say that you don't have to have the niyyah before that night. You may have the niyyah the next day. Some say it has to be before midday. Some say it doesn't have to be before midday. Because there are texts from Rasulullah ﷺ that do teach that whenever you begin deciding to fast nafila, fasting, you may do that anytime during the day, in accordance to at least the most valid opinions from the texts of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Can one make niyyah for the entire month?
That, of course, does occur. Of course, you do that. Will it? I would say, to follow the arguments of the ulama, rahimahumullah ta'ala, let it be every night, because there are texts about that. If we didn't know, we would say, if we didn't have texts, we would say, yeah, why not? But remember, in the presence of texts, khalas. Of course, the question in fiqh, who is obliged to fast? Upon whom is it obligatory to fast? It's also an important question because it might have some practical consequences to some of us. But I think most of you know that. One has to be a Muslim. One has to be baligh, that is, reach the age of puberty, of discernment and responsibility. One has to be aqil, that is, a person who is sane and not incapacitated in his mind, her mind. Fourthly, the person has to be sahih, that means healthy, not subject to some illness or to some physical incapacitation that would make him or her not able to fast. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not require a person to bear of a load that which he or she cannot. And finally, the person has to be muqim, that is not a traveler. If you're a traveler, you do not have to fast, as you all know, and you make it up later after Ramadan. So these are the conditions for a person to be obliged, that is in the Shari'i sense, to be under the responsibility, the obligatory responsibility to fast. And of course for women, the woman must not be in a state of haida, nor in a state of nafas. The woman must not be in her menses, and she must not be in the state of post-delivery nafas. In those cases, she must not fast, and she would have to make that up later. And therefore, a person who is sick, a person who is incapacitated, and so on and so forth, a child, all of those do not have to fast, with some other details. And there because there are texts, all of these are from texts from the Quran and from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I'm sure many of you know some of those texts, and such as Allah Azza wa Jalla telling us in the Quran, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. In this text, the person who is not sahih, who is ill, and the person who is not muqim, who is a traveler, this ayah says that person does not have to fast and instead should make those days up later. Yes. So you were too quick to ask questions. Wait. Inshallah. Question pertaining to anything that...
The traveler,
yeah.
if he chooses to fast while he's traveling...
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. You also were fasting. You drew too early. Yes.
Who is eligible? So let's say we have kids. So they are in the age of 7 and 8.
Yeah, all of that is khair. All of it is khair, alhamdulillah, to train the children to fast in ways that are easy for them and gradual. It's all khair. And you see how able is the child. Some children are just, they can fast a month at 7 and at 8 and some 10 days, some can't fast even half a day. Just to see how each child is. And alhamdulillah, teach them and encourage them and reward them. You know, back home probably you had this tradition. If a child fasts one day, it's a celebration. And back in North Africa, the child is dressed into this royal types of garments and paraded outside and in the families, and they used to do that, and that's all, of course, sort of, alhamdulillah, encouraging the children and celebrating this beautiful practice of Sawm. Now, and therefore, because Sawm is not obligatory on everybody under some circumstances, there is the concept of rukhsa. Rukhsa, opposite to azima in the fiqh technical sense. Rukhsa, the opposite of it is azima. Regular circumstances is azima. Rukhsa is under special circumstances, concessions. So, for example, al-rukhsatu fil iftar, that is the concession not to fast for, let's say, examples that the ulama all mention, the elderly man or woman. And of course, when they're elderly, they are weaker. Fasting, sometimes for some of them is a toll. It's very, very heavy. Some of them do better than others, and they want to. They insist. Alhamdulillah, our mothers and grandfathers, and they want to fast, and they do that incredibly. And sometimes they want to do that, or they realize they can't. But as the texts teach, alhamdulillah, that the person who is elderly does not have to fast. And instead, in accordance with the majority of the ulama, would practice another ibadah instead of the ibadah of fasting, the ibadah of giving fi sabilillah, fidya. And therefore, fidya, to feed the needy and the poor. Sawm is ibadah, and feeding the needy and the poor is ibadah. So that sheikh and sheikh are not deprived of ibadah. So they can still do something like that. Alhamdulillah, they give fidya fi sabilillah. Also, of course, al-marid al-muzmin, the person who has an illness that is chronic, such as that chronic illness does not permit him or her to fast. That person does not have to fast. There are many illnesses nowadays, especially, subhanAllah, that are chronic, and that if a person fasts, it gets worse. Those people do not have to fast, and instead, again, they feed the needy and the poor. Fidya for every day, feed a needy person. Something like nowadays suggested perhaps the value of $10 or so per day per person. The ulama have spoken also about the people who are, let's say, working, and their work is al-amal al-shaqqa. They don't do that now anymore, like prisoners used to have. What is it?
Forced labor?
No, not forced labor. Anyways, they subject them to, as punishment, arduous, hard labor. Very, very hard under the scorching sun, and continuously like that. If a person is under, or those perhaps even at some time who work their daily work, they work in mines under the heat that is very demanding, and they do that for their livelihood. The ulama say for such people, they do not have to fast, because if they fast, probably they need water, excessive water, they will use excessive water. And on average, such people would not be able perhaps to survive. So they do not have to fast because that's their livelihood. And therefore they give fidya, indeed. Is there a question about this part? As a matter of fact, then if there is no question, there is one opinion, just to keep, alhamdulillah, to keep in mind if you hear something. There's one opinion in the Maliki school, Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, argues that for these cases, because it's beyond their control completely, they don't even have to give fidya. And they don't make it up. Because they're always like this anyways. Chronic illness means chronic. There's no respite for that. Al-amal al-shaqqa, hard labor, same thing. And the elderly, you can only grow older, not younger, under those circumstances. But the opinion of it seems the majority is there is fidya for that. Up to this point, is this clear?
So how do you define elderly? How do you define elderly?
Elderly. You're not elderly for sure, so don't, you will not escape it.
If he's like 80 years old and he's healthy, you
Alhamdulillah.
consider that.
Exactly, as we said, exactly. Elderly, of course, is age and the ability to fast. I mentioned some elderly, mashallah, they want to fast and they are able to, and they do that, alhamdulillah, without any harm to them. And some of them, I know my mother was always fasting and fasting. She's now 85, but last year she said, I have to fast, and then she couldn't. We've been telling her, anyways, you don't have mother to fast. You can give fidya, because by the time when she was 80, she was very fine for fasting. But last year, it started. You know. So alhamdulillah, if they can and they won't, let it be. But if they cannot and they won't, you know, we should tell them, alhamdulillah, that Allah is Rahim and Allah is Ghafoor and Allah is kind, and this is what we do instead. The other one, of course, is the woman who is pregnant, or the woman who is breastfeeding. In that case, if she is concerned and through the advice of specialists, doctors, Muslim doctors preferably, but because they know the culture, they know what some is, they know what is possible, what is not possible, and so on, and that if the pregnant person fears for her health, actually, or the health of a baby, then she does not have to fast, including also the nursing mother. Same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not require that from them, and instead, once, alhamdulillah, they are done, they make up for those days. And there are differences of opinions as to how to do that. Some ulama say that there is fidya. They don't have to fast after that. Fidya only. Some ulama say qada only. Most of them say after that they make up those days. Alhamdulillah. One opinion is a little bit complicated. It depends. If she is fearing for her child only, then in this case she gives both. After she's fine, she gives fidya and makes it up. But if she fears for herself only, or for herself and the child, then she makes the days up only. Qada only. Right? Confusing. And anyways, they would know that, inshallah ta'ala. And I know you and I will forget. Even though I've known this for years and years and years, and I repeat it, and then I still have to think about it. What did I say? Because we're not in that condition. But I think our sisters, because it's sort of concerned to them directly, And I think this they will find it easy and will not forget it, inshallah ta'ala. Right? When a person is sick, again, then of course one would ask the question on what defines sickness. Again, what is sickness that would warrant the person to not fast? Well, some ulama say any sickness. Some ulama say any sickness, major or minor, any type of sickness. They take the text literally. So if you're qualified as sick in the urfi sense, in the sense of how people define sick at any level, fever, headache, anything, a wound, something, they say that. Others say, no, the sickness that would somehow, in accordance to your condition, would make you enter into a state of not normalcy. You're not normal anymore. Right? Then you may not fast, and you make that up later, and you must. A safar, traveling, also, as Allah Azza wa Jal teaches, is a condition during which one does not have to fast. But which kind of safar? Any kind of safar? Or some types of safar? Well, as you're going to guess, as I said, what I said about illness, some say any kind of safar. Any kind of safar, as long as it is called safar, as long as it is defined as traveling. But if you're taking a walk, or you're riding and leisurely, and you ended up in Austin, that's not safar, because you didn't intend to travel. You were just leisurely driving, and you end up 200 miles away from here. That doesn't make you musafir, because you did not intend that safar. And some others put other conditions that some of you are familiar with about the distance and how far is the distance and so on and so forth. But overall, a person in general who is traveling may, alhamdulillah, not fast, may not must, may not fast, and will have to make those days up later. Which is better, to fast or not to fast during traveling?
I prefer fasting.
He prefers, Allah prefers not to fast. Yeah. Not to fast? All of that is khair. If you prefer to fast, you're fine. If you prefer not to fast, you're fine. Why? Because with all of that, there are texts. Amen. But you should not say, because I'm fasting and I'm traveling, I'm going to fast. That's hard. If you do that, then you better not fast. Okay? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, it is related that he said, لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ الصِّيَامُ فِي السَّفَرِ. It is not virtuous. You should not think it is especially virtuous to fast when we are traveling. If you think that way, you better not fast. لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ الصِّيَامُ فِي السَّفَرِ. But it is an option. But if you're traveling and the traveling, for example, leads you to inconvenience or some sort of hardship or so, then it is better not to fast. That's better not to fast. If it weakens you, if you have to do something very important that Allah also loves, but it weakens you from doing that, then you better not fast. Mustahab. Not definitely it will be, in this case, mustahab at least, not to fast. If it hurts you and harms you, most likely it's going to be obligatory on you not to fast. Because the text says, if you're traveling, you may not fast. You take that rukhsa, and Allah loves that we accept His concessions, such as these, as He loves that we respect His azaim, his injunctions under regular circumstances. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to travel, and he was the strongest of man, but he sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not fast. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not fast, to teach us that. And he's the strongest of man, spiritually and physically. And I'll tell you later what, I think we're going to stop in a while. It means we're going to say more next time. How he sallallahu alaihi wasallam fasted. Sometimes he fasted consecutive days without interruption, without iftar, without suhoor. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But when we travel, he's teaching us. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam كان يفطر في سفره صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان صائما. But also the Sahaba who were with him radiallahu ta'ala anhum and heard the commands from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and saw his practice, also as related in authentic hadith, and sometimes they were in his company sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Some of them fast and some of them don't fast, related by Imam Muslim and others, for example. So there is leeway for that, as long as you don't think by fasting that this is sunnah or this is better. But if it is, you feel something about it, alhamdulillah, and that especially if it tires you or so, and alhamdulillah, if we have a nafs that is just looks for any opportunity not to fast, says no, I'm going to make you fast. A nafs that is terrible, base and low, and then we should discipline our nafs in that sense. Any question up to this point?
The travel from here to Bristol, it was 3.5 hours or 4 hours. And you need to fast because you're traveling in the car. It's easy, much easier than...
No, my dear brother, we don't say you don't need to fast. Remember, the law is the law. What you feel, what I feel, is not necessarily what is right for others. That's why there is the law. And the law says if you are traveling, any definition of traveling, then you may, alhamdulillah. And that's a rahmah from Allah Azza wa Jal. The beautiful thing, as I said, is that Allah said, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah loves that you accept His gifts, that you accept His rukhas, as He loves that you obey Him in obligations. So if you reject His gift and His rukhsa out of you think you're somebody, that's terrible. It's lack of respect and lack of appreciation of Allah's gifts. So we must have a good reason that pleases Allah, in my opinion, and that is what I understood from the ulama. We must have a good reason for us to fast when we are traveling. Otherwise, it is better, in general, it is better not to fast. But with specifics that I mentioned, it depends. And the Sahaba with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did both. Some of them were fasting, some of them were not fasting. And he also pointed out that you should not fast if it is going to weaken you from doing something more important, or for doing something important as well. Then preferably, because that's what he did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not fast, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet, because the companions who were with him and after him, some fasted, some did not fast, that tells us how we should understand the text of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they are the ones who best understand that. If it were not permissible, they would not have done that. Radiallahu ta'ala anhum wa ardahum jami'an.
So this is a question regarding Tarawih, the number of rakats.
No, that's not here. That's later. We'll speak about Tarawih. We did not get there yet.
This is for me, inshallah.
And not now. When the time for it comes, because we have specific things we're dealing with. We go with order, ya Mawlai.
We'll take it offline.
When we get to it, we will get to it, inshallah. We'll have that part. Yes.
What about the people with diabetes?
Say that again?
With diabetes and...
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we mentioned that unless you were not here earlier. Alhamdulillah, for people who have chronic diseases, alhamdulillah, they do not have to fast. And if it is chronic, they give for every day they miss, they give fidya, they feed a needy person. Approximately nowadays here in the States, about $10 per day per person. Inshallah ta'ala, we have to stop here bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and we'll continue again, Allah willing, if you're here also tomorrow. But I suggest, if you're interested in these things, be here before 7:30 so that we start on time and we finish on time. Inshallah ta'ala. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.